Gibbs needs glasses. Tony has been at NCIS for 2 years. Kate isn't in the Navy. And as we established in another previous episode, Abby and Gibbs still know American Sign Language. Gibbs it to me straight.
And we're live. And I was supposed to... I didn't do this properly. We had a countdown preparing for this, and I did not jump in when I should have. But we're live now, and it doesn't matter. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. So here we go. We're back. I am Ashley J. Williams, and I'm here with my co-host Robby Thesword. Hi, Robby.
Hello.
How have you been? It's been a few weeks.
I've been doing a lot of writing.
A lot of writing.
Yeah.
Okay. And is this a manifesto, or is it a diary, or fanfic, or erotica? What are you doing?
I'm not making any comments about it at the time.
Okay. Well, we'll wait till it's published. I hope that you'll autograph whatever hard copy of.
You'll get one of the first ones. I promise.
It'll either be at a book signing or when I come visit you in prison. This is our episode 6.
That's right.
Of Gibbs It To Me Straight. Episode 5 was a diversion into the first half of the first season, first couple of episodes of the TV show Stargate. And I realized in preparing for that's where we switched roles, how hard it is, your role in watching and taking notes and so on. And I did a very poor job relative to how you do it on your side. We do have the part 2 of that, and I'm a completionist, so I insist on completing that. Hopefully you'll join me, or I may just be talking into a microphone all by myself, but at some point in the indeterminate future, I'd like to complete that task.
Without a doubt.
But for now, and it was fun, and I realized I was probably over-explaining the visuals of it, but it is a science fiction show, so it's heavily based in visuals. I'm always really hard on myself because I have a lot of Catholic guilt. But today, Gives It To Me Straight, this is our episode 6, but we will be covering episode 5 of NCIS, right?
Yes, we're covering episode 5 of NCIS today, The Curse.
And you can tell that we have not been at this for a few weeks because we're both a little rusty.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like there are audio muscles that you exercise when you do this. You get better at it the more you do it. We haven't done it for a few weeks, and now we suck again. That's not to say we ever didn't suck, but we suck more. But I caught you saying that episode 5 of NCIS is The Curse.
That's correct.
The Curse. Okay. And let's see. It's been so long, I've forgotten all of the lore that we started to set up with our little podcast. I know. Have we gotten any hate mail?
I don't believe so. I think the only mail we've gotten since last episode is one of our favorite listeners demanding the buttons that we promised previously.
Really?
And I'll tell you, at some point, we'll make it happen. I can't remember what our conditions were for that. But, I don't know. I have enough fun making things on Canva that I'm sure I'll have some fun trying to make something put on a button.
Well, I have been considering, it takes me a long time to belabor anything. I've been thinking of buying a button maker.
Yeah.
So if you volunteer to make the designs, and you're very good at that, then I volunteer to do what I'm good at, which is the dull, repetitive task of pressing the buttons. And a button maker, you can get it from eBay for like $45, something like that, right?
Oh.
So here I keep saying and or because I'm not an experienced podcaster. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to edit all of that out. So we didn't get any hate mail. It's very disappointing. I will have to create some hate mail. I have been leaving personally. I have been leaving comments on the YouTube videos that you post.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I always every video I always post something derogatory about us. I'm filled with self-loathing. And I'm not sure if I've done that with the Stargate episode, but I'll absolutely do that. Don't we have a Twitter presence?
We have a Blue Sky. We have
Or
a
Blue
Blue
Sky.
Sky and an Instagram. So you can go follow us now. The links will be in our show notes and our YouTube descriptions. You can follow us on our Blue Sky and on our Instagram. Somewhere along the way, if anyone is just really yearning to financially support us for whatever reason, then I think my first demand is we make it to episode 10,
Hmm.
and then we'll think about it.
Okay. Yep. Yep. I mean, we've been talking about it, and then on episode 10, we'll think about it, and then maybe by episode 500 or so, we'll actually produce the buttons. Uh,
And
let's
yeah, I don't even know if there are 500 episodes of NCIS yet.
well, let's see, 11
We have enough room.
seasons, and they often have. Let's see, it's the British shows that only have like 8 episodes per series, but
Yeah, we're talking in the
American shows.
20s.
Yeah, right. So there's a lot. There's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, let's say by episode 100, maybe we'll do something. Let's see. Oh, one of our traditions was is it Freaky Friday, NCIS, or Ted Bundy?
That's correct. Before we get into our episode proper, we have yet another instance of America's favorite game, Freaky Agent Bundy.
Yeah, it is
And
America's favorite game, and that is an indication of just how dystopian society is. But please go
it's
ahead.
really, yeah, is it a cop? Is it a dude that's about to get married to Jamie Lee Curtis, the only positive one? Or
Or a
is it
serial killer.
a murderer?
Yeah, the sign of our times. Okay.
So, for sort of more obscurity, these are only ever audio clips. So these are clips from either the 2003 film Freaky Friday, this week's episode of NCIS, or a clip from the 1985 movie The Deliberate Stranger, starring Mark Harmon as Ted Bundy.
Now,
Now, there's another
yeah,
thing. I haven't gone off on this yet. I haven't done this intentionally yet. But if I ever run out, I was reminded recently that Mark Harmon has done some voice acting work in some DC properties.
oh, really?
Yes. So I can't remember if he's Superman or Batman. He's one of the two that he's done voice work for.
I've seen a lot of those.
But if we ever have to pivot,
Well, I was going to say, I've seen a lot of those DC animated shows. Some of them are actually really good, like Justice League
there,
Unlimited.
yeah,
I loved them when they came out. And one of my favorite series of all time is the Superman animated series, which was not Mark Harmon who played the voice of
no, I
Superman.
think that was George Newbern. Is that right?
It was the guy from Wings, and I can't remember his
Really?
name. But
Oh,
Lois Lane was
interesting.
Dana Delaney, and I just fell in love with her voice. But
So
what did he do in DC though, Mark Harmon?
I'd have to check because I only saw it at the beginning of one of the sort of DC animated universe, separate from the Bruce Timm TV
Mm,
shows,
mm.
but very similar vein. I'm pretty sure he voiced Superman in a few movies.
I can see his voice more of a Superman than a Batman.
Yeah, because Batman for a while was Bruce Greenwood. If you're familiar with Bruce Greenwood, he's Pike in the new Star Trek movies.
Wait. We're gonna go off on a diversion here, and you may have to
Yeah,
cut all this stuff out. But I
I
thought
probably will.
I thought Anson Williams. Are you talking about the Paramount TV show with Captain Pike?
No, not the TV show. I'm talking about the J.J. Abrams movies.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay, I got you. Okay. I did not know he did that. I always, of course, and I think you'll agree with this, associate Batman's voice with Kevin Conroy. Rest in peace.
Oh, of course,
Yeah,
totally.
I mean, hands down. Um,
And gosh, who was it? It also completely messes with me that Roger Craig Smith, he is the younger version of the Conroy Arkham Batman, and he also has done the voice for Sonic the Hedgehog in a lot of stuff.
how do you know all this?
It's it's not good for me to go into.
Okay.
So okay, wait a minute. So I'm gonna 3, 2, 1. So if I ever need to take out Bundy, or if I need to take out Freaky Friday because I can't find anything, then we may find ourselves playing Super Agent Bundy or Freaky Agent Man or something like that. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'll find a million different combinations. But today's clip is fairly small. So let's go ahead and play this week's episode of Freaky Agent Bundy. This clip's only 7 seconds, so I can play it for you multiple times if you need.
Okay.
So, tell me, you all in high school?
No. Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did hear that, and my visceral reaction is that it's NCIS.
That's so you're just going to go for that right out of the gate?
Yeah, I'm going to go for that right out of the gate.
Okay, I'm very
And
sorry
I'm
to
wrong.
tell you
I'm
that's
wrong.
incorrect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it Freaky Friday?
No.
Oh my God. Okay.
No, it's from The Deliberate Stranger.
Oh, it's much more sinister than either other option. Okay.
Yeah, and like the clip itself, whenever I found it, I couldn't believe that I hate to say lucky, like quote unquote lucky, to have gotten that clip, but it was so funny that I couldn't not use it.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. And you know what occurs to me is that Mark Harmon is probably at a point in his career that if we wanted to, and if we got some listener support from our one listener, I think we still only have one listener, we could probably get him to do a cameo for us. You know, you can have a celebrity do an audio greeting.
Oh, if he has a cameo, that would be amazing.
We should definitely
We'll
look
have
into
to
that.
we'll have to look that up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably out of our price range, though.
I mean, I don't know, because what was it? I was listening to a podcast with Paul F. Tompkins where he was talking about setting his up for the first time, and he set it up way too low, and then he got bombarded with messages. And eventually Cameo automatically was like, how about we put it at 10 times higher than you set it? Is that okay?
Right.
So apparently, like, whenever you set it too low, people go absolutely insane.
Well, we should probably join and see if anyone wants to hear us talk. Probably
I
not.
mean, you know what? There's probably not enough audio of us yet to fully train a bot on.
Yeah.
So they can't quite get everything out of our voices yet.
Yeah.
Out of our glorious voices.
Well, let's
Okay.
see. This is our 6th episode, and they tend to be about an hour to hour 15 minutes long. So we have about maybe going on 7 hours of audio.
Yeah. I don't know how much you need. That's probably enough to get some of it started.
Yeah, killer AI bots have been trained on less.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I mean, because you want to... Well, let's not get into it. All right. So, episode 5, The Curse.
The Curse.
But I realized a few things
Okay.
before we jump into this episode that I need to talk about. One of them is that the video editing program that I use is consistently like a half to a full second delayed whenever editing audio. But doing that editing to get these clips has made me realize that NCIS, almost without fail, audio starts as soon as the first frame of a scene starts and ends as soon as the last frame happens. So I went through, and this is probably going to be my process from now on, and just cut every single scene apart. And then I didn't have to worry about it, because whenever a conversation stopped, I could just stop it there. It was nice. I hate to say, though, that our very first clip is going to be not all that interesting for our listeners, because there's not a whole lot happening in it. I'll tell you why. As with every episode of NCIS, we start with a cold open. It would not be an American procedural crime drama without a cold open, and we're going to start with a guy just going through the woods.
Okay, so this is where we have the short, sharp act of violence that sets the tone for the rest of the episode.
That is absolutely correct.
I saw that it was a hunter, for those of you in the listening audience, a hunter was in a deer stand. He had a crossbow. He missed. He was shooting at a deer. The deer thankfully got away because we love our deer friends because they are dear to us. And he went to chase the deer, it seemed like. Maybe he wounded the deer. I didn't quite catch that.
No, he did not.
Okay, good. So the deer is free. Fly, deer, be free. And he tripped over something as he was walking through the forest, and it looked like a casket of some sort, and there was a name on what appeared to be a personal item that said Lieutenant Commander, was it Farnsworth?
Farnsworth, that's right.
Farnsworth, yeah, LCDR, Lieutenant Commander, which is an officer, and there was, the remains were mummified, but they had been deliberately placed and buried in what appeared to be a box of some sort. So the mystery is afoot.
That correct you are. You've pulled a lot of stuff together there. So the very first thing that we see is this guy getting an absolutely terrible shot off from a crossbow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know why you would attempt this bad of a shot. I think he's trying to fit between two Y branches of a tree, and obviously he misses. And in my notes, I had it said that what he trips over looks like a tiny plane or a missile. He spends like 8 full seconds just tapping on it a little bit. Which, if I found a thing that was made of metal buried in the ground, I don't know how tempted I would be to tap on it with something.
Well, I would automatically
something
assume it was
like
a
that.
landmine. Right? That's just where my head is at, right? Because everything is either a danger, an incoming projectile, or a landmine in my world. But yeah, I would not spend time tapping on it either.
Yeah, I'm glad we share that. So, of course, right after this, after the guy screams and he stumbles back, as everyone does in these shows, we get our title sequence, we get our music, and then as we're settling back down, we get Gibbs walking through the office, drinking a good old cup of joe. And I don't know if you've seen the newest Naked Gun movie starring Liam Neeson.
I haven't.
But that movie has such a consistent but low-level bit where Liam Neeson is constantly being handed a cup of coffee. And it's like, I saw it the same day I saw Superman, so it's been a while ago. It's been a few weeks. But as soon as I saw Gibbs walking in holding a cup of coffee, I was like, oh my god. All of it's true. The prophecy is true.
To digress just for a moment, is it a good movie, by the way?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's really funny. It's worth watching.
It's fantastic. Okay. All right. I remember the original Police Squad when it came out. My friends and I loved that show, and then The Naked Gun. And now I'm so happy to see that it's been reincarnated with Liam Neeson. And I'll tell you, The Naked Gun is proof that we're going to be okay.
I think so.
We're going to be okay as a culture and a society.
Okay, so after Gibbs, he's walking into the office, and he says the same thing he always says whenever there's a body.
Grab your gear.
My 3 favorite words.
Grab your gear.
And then Tony says, my 3 favorite words, which I'm perplexed by, because that usually means somebody's dead. Mm-hmm. We've built up a hatred for DeBozo.
Yep.
And this episode, he's better, as I recall, a little better, if only because his usual actions are just sort of absorbed by other characters.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a good thing. So they're starting to grab their gear. They head to the elevator, and Gibbs sort of gives them a little bit of a rundown.
Deer hunter stumbled onto an aircraft drop tank. Navy markings.
We're driving to Maryland. Look at a drop tank.
It's got a body inside.
Now that's different.
Yeah, I thought so.
Now that's different.
I'm wondering again, I'm in DiNozzo's head. Maybe he's being sarcastic here, and that seems to be his tendency. But if there wasn't a body in it, why would they be going to look at it?
Well, the thing about DeBozo is it does not matter what he says.
That's probably a really great idea.
Like, what he says is irrelevant. So I don't even know why he's there. Actually, you've seen this show. You've seen all the episodes. In retrospect, of the shows that we have dissected and deconstructed, if you removed him entirely from the previous shows, right, and you don't even, cut down on the silences left because of his missing dialogue, you just leave that in, right? Like, the show doesn't suffer at all.
That would be a fantastic idea. Like, have you heard of Garfield minus Garfield?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's hilarious. Yeah.
That would be a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
If we ever decide to do any financial support, I will edit exactly 1 episode of NCIS to not include Tony DiNozzo's character.
Edit him out. I bet you the actor would love that. I bet he would think it was hilarious. But we've been introduced to a bevy of characters so far. It's been a few weeks, so just to very quickly review, we know why Gibbs is there. He's in charge.
That's correct.
And he is because of Mark Harmon, he's a compelling character. Although it's unclear if he actually has any depth, but we'll find out. And then there's the nice former Secret Service lady. What was her name? What is her name again?
Her name is Kate.
That's right, Kate. And she's there to almost provide exposition as the new person. She kind of is a proxy for the audience, I think.
Yeah.
Because things have to be explained to her, and she makes observations as an outsider. And then you have Abby, who's their wonderkind, right? So you have to have someone in that role to essentially tie up all the loose ends through some miraculous conclusion, right? That no normal human would ever come to, making associations and so on.
There's a fun thing that happens with Abby now that in my head I've compared her to CSI. Because for whatever reason, whenever I was younger, my mom loved watching CSI. And I think that they both began around this time. I think she specifically really liked CSI Las Vegas. But if you've ever watched CSI, like half of the characters in that show all do the thing that only Abby does in this show.
Really? Okay.
They, like, all of them in CSI do a bunch of, like, specific kind of forensic diagnostics. Like, if you took Abby and Ducky in the show, mashed them together, and then pulled them apart into 4 separate people, that's what, like, half of CSI is. And the same thing with Bones.
Right, and it's Ducky. I was thinking Ducky, he fulfills the forensic role of every one of these shows is going to have a medical examiner.
Yeah.
It's required that he's there. But thinking through these characters, it is literally true that there's no reason for DeBozo to be there. Like, he doesn't contribute anything. He doesn't have a role other than to be another male figure.
The first place that my brain went is that if they started this show and found out that Gibbs wasn't really pulling people in, hey, this guy's here, but remember, we've got this hotshot, sexy talking younger guy in the background. Maybe.
But he has staying power, because I assume he lasts through all 11 seasons.
Well, gosh, I think they're in the 20s now of season.
Wait, he's still in it in the 20th season?
No. However,
Okay.
There is a reboot that stars him and another character that he is in.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah. And we
At some point we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we had a side conversation in an earlier episode about how he just made a career out of this. And you know, good for him.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how much he's made. I would love to have made a 10th.
Yeah, I'm sure he's pulling down good money. I mean, he's not going to, on his deathbed, look back and think, I accomplished something. But then again, neither am I, and I will not have made a 10th of what he made. So this is all damning praise.
So, the crew all has to head to Maryland, because that's where this hunter found this drop tank. We've discovered that it's a drop tank.
I thought it was a missile or a bomb of some kind until I tapped it and it sounded hollow. So I cleared some leaves away and found the hatch.
Okay.
Well,
he's fulfilled his role as the person who found the body, and then we're probably never going to hear from him again, right?
Absolutely not. I just really liked the phrase, I thought it was a missile or a bomb or something until I tapped it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still here, so it's not a bomb.
So it wasn't a bomb.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of just get a bunch of minutia about, like, opening the container, seeing what's in there. They open it, and Ducky is immediately like, oh yeah, the body's mummified, because he says that there's no air. And Tony says there's no air, so there's no bugs, there's no critters. But then Ducky says because of that, there's no bacteria, and there wouldn't be any decomposition. But if this is an airtight container, I feel like that's not true, right?
Well, I was going to agree with you, but then I realized people are going to be listening to this. And if I say something wrong, we're probably going to get angry emails. Most of those emails will probably be from me, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I don't know the answer to that question. What my question is, how did he get in there?
Oh, yeah.
But I'm sure that will be revealed later on. Yeah. I guess if there's no air, and I don't see why it would necessarily be a vacuum, but if it is, well, if it was a vacuum, then I don't think that guy would have been able to open it.
Yeah, if it was a vacuum, he shouldn't have been able to pry it open,
Right.
because it would have been vacuum shut.
Yeah.
So
Right.
either it had some amount of, I mean, maybe it was vacuum shut before it hit the ground.
Okay.
Maybe, but like my thought was people do this thing where they put like plant seeds and little tiny organisms and stuff into a little container, and then they create these micro ecosystems that like because the little bugs are eating plants, and then the plants are taken in this, that they thrive in their own little ecosystem entirely separate from the one outside of the container. So, like, if you have a person that's dead, they have a bunch of stuff inside them that would be breaking down the body.
Yeah.
Just because it's mummified inside and nothing can get in, that doesn't mean that the thing could be breaking down. And also, if it was a vacuum, like you said, he wouldn't have been able to open it, which leaves the only thing that we could argue to be that the vacuum broke once he hit the ground, which means that stuff would have been able to get in. Because if you can fit a knife into something or a screwdriver or whatever and pry something open, then bugs could definitely get it. So, like, this is a fun idea, but it's definitely a contrivance that they thought of for 3 seconds and then didn't think of again.
Also, the body would smell awful.
Oh, I'm sure it would be absolutely horrific.
Like it would be like gagging and retching, kind of bad, right? And the clip that you showed, the reaction the guy had, he was frightened. He backed off, but it wasn't because he was disgusted, because he was surprised.
Yeah. It's the way that everybody always reacts in these shows, which is that they see it and they go, oh!
Yeah.
All right, so we get a little bit more exposition about who we're going to be looking through for this episode. I have this clip titled Farnsworth, Bag.
Lieutenant Commander Farnsworth. Think he's our mummy?
I don't know. Bag it.
No, I can't do anything for this gentleman until we cut him out of here.
Okay.
That's all we get from that one. There's not a ton there. Although, we get a little bit more detail in this clip, both on Tony's backstory, and I'll give a little bit more information about where this drop pod came from.
Didn't become an NCIS agent yesterday, Kate. As a matter of fact, tomorrow is...
It'll have been 2 years.
That's kind of touching, Gibbs. Remembering the day you hired me.
Yeah, well, seemed like a good idea at the time.
Okay, Boomer.
So even Gibbs has got a little bit of antipathy.
Yeah. So we find out that he's been on the team for 2 years, and prior to that, I think you had said in an earlier episode that his background was that he was a Boston cop.
I think Baltimore.
Okay.
We have it officially. Anyone that in 7 years' time is going to make a compilation of information as of episode 5, The Curse. Tony had been working for NCIS for 2 years. That's how long we have. So he started in 2001. And I don't know, could we make a weird assumption that he tried to join or was hired because of 9/11?
I don't know. I prefer to think that that Gibbs just found him in obscurity and plucked him out of whatever sad life that he was in, as a Baltimore cop in a dead-end career with no family. And Gibbs came across him in some way and offered him a job. Because Gibbs has done that. He offered Kate a job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he's sort of a Fagin.
Yeah. So I think he's assembling these misfit toys all around him. Right.
Oh, and we're not done. I don't know how soon we meet the next sort of primary part of this quartet or trio, but it's within this season. It's not as early as I thought, but fairly early within the show. What information we didn't get from that clip that I cut out is that Tony, for whatever reason, like right before the clip that we just watched happens, Tony very dramatically says, "I know what this is, boss. This is a cargo pod that was converted into a fuel tank from an F-14 Tomcat."
Wait, Tony says all that?
Yeah, Tony knows all of this for some reason.
Okay.
Ducky finally goes, "I can't tell anything from the body. This is completely useless." That's whenever he gives Gibbs permission to inspect the body a little closer.
I got an ID.
Lieutenant Mark Schultz.
He's not our golfer. This bag belongs to Lieutenant Lynch.
Gold wedding band. Looks like Lieutenant Shills left someone behind.
Wait, how... Is it Marshall? Is it... They named a bunch of names.
They throw out a bunch of names all at once.
Yeah, so I'm confused.
So I think I have in my notes that we'll be able to get that all back together.
So is that cleared up at some point, or?
Well, give me 1 second, and maybe I'll play the clip again just so I can get it, just so I can go through and put everything together by name. So this is sort of a callback to the other thing, which is that Gibbs once again tells Kate to go and ride back with the driver of the flatbed to pick up the tank, which is a thing that happened an episode or two ago. And she was like really annoyed about it, presumably because it felt strange
It was like hazing of sorts, right?
Yeah, it feels like a hazing ritual to tell a woman that's worked here for all of a few weeks or months, like, how about you just sit in a car with a man for a while? I don't know. Gibbs is weird this episode. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. They get back to the lab, and basically as we get into that scene from the clip that we just watched, they are lifting the lid off of it. And they say a few different things. They say, the prints on the inside don't match, or Abby doesn't think that the prints that were on the inside of the container match the victims.
Okay.
And my first thought is, why would you think that?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Why would she think that? I'm just thinking this through. The hands are probably withered to the point that they can't get clean fingerprints from the victim himself, right?
Oh, sure.
So actually, I would think, now that I'm thinking it through, if he was, to be somewhat macabre, but if the victim was put in the tank while they were still alive, his fingerprints would be all over the place, right?
Of course.
If he was dead when he was put in, then the fingerprints would be of presumably the murderer. So I'm smarter than Abby. Okay, all right, great.
We got an ID.
Lieutenant Mark Schills.
He's not a golfer. This bag belongs to Lieutenant Lynch.
Gold wedding band. Looks like Lieutenant Schills left someone behind.
So the thing that I also did mention is that within the tank, there was a body, there was a set of golf clubs. So the first name that they rattle off is the name of the victim, Lieutenant Mark Schills. And then Kate immediately follows that up with, that's not our golfer. So that's what we've got right now. Then we have a third piece of information from Ducky.
Okay. All right, yeah, that cleared it up. The presence of golf clubs in the tank was a key bit of information. So
yeah. Yeah, you know what? Gosh. I wonder, because so often, and I think we've talked about this, I feel like they really write these episodes backwards. Or in some way, maybe they start with an ending, they start with a beginning, and they fill the things in between. It reminds me a lot of...
Well, that's what the interns are for,
sure.
right? So the head writers or the senior writers are like coming up with an ending and a beginning, and then they pass it off to an intern. So
interestingly enough, I think that's how most Call of Duty games are written. But so we have a few more names now. So first of all, we had Lieutenant Commander Farnsworth.
Right.
That was the name on the bag.
Right.
Then we have Lieutenant Mark Schills. And then we have the name that was on the golf bag, Lieutenant Lynch.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
So we've got those three names for right now.
Okay. And Farnsworth.
Then at the end of this scene.
Well, so Farnsworth was the name that was on the golf bag that the hunter found. Okay, because I remember seeing very briefly the name Farnsworth, and what I assumed was like a service kit or something, like a rucksack or something like that. Okay.
I think that's what it is. I don't think it was a golf bag.
Okay.
So the golf stuff belongs to Lieutenant Lynch, and then Farnsworth, I don't even remember if we hear that name again, other than just it was there. And then, of course, at the end of this, since they have a mummy and stuff, Abby, to be macabre, like you said, she says, oh, this must be part of a curse. Since there's a mummy's curse, so on and so forth. In this next scene, we're back in the office where, the exposition office, where Kate is telling Gibbs some crucial information about what they're looking up about Schills. We got some interesting info here.
Okay.
Lieutenant Schills' service record. He was reported missing at sea off the Eisenhower.
Commended. He's no longer missing.
The carrier was a day out of Norfolk at the end of a 6-month deployment in the Med.
When?
March 4 in 1994. He was declared a deserter 30 days later, and he received a dishonorable discharge.
Dishonorable?
Lieutenant Schills was charged in absentia with theft of government property.
The cargo pod.
$1.2 million out of the Eisenhower safe. He was their dispersing officer.
Very interesting. Okay, and I assume there was not $1.2 million in the tank that he was in.
They haven't found it yet, and they address that a moment later in the scene where they're like, where's the money? Abby would be up here screaming that she won the lottery. So, to recap a little bit, yeah, Shills disappeared in 1994, dishonorably discharged, and was accused of stealing over $1 million from the Navy because he was the ship's dispersing officer. Then, right after this, Tony comes back in because, someone always has to be leaving or coming back in or getting ready to leave in order to properly have some amount of motion. They can't just be sitting there until later in the episode when they can be.
Of course.
But Tony comes back in and he's like, hey, I was right about the plane. It's a F-14 Tomcat. They were part of this specific group, and they were yada, yada, yada. He gives a bunch of information about where they were coming back. It's just putting everything out on the table. And then there's a fun little game that they have back and forth. Tony is told, oh yeah, all this happened in 1994. And then he plays a guessing game trying to figure out how they found out. And then Kate just says, I pulled the victim service record. And Tony says, oh, you did it the easy way. Why wouldn't you be doing it the easy way? Why would you be doing things hard on purpose?
So he's a sadomasochist on top of being just a weirdo.
I don't... And this is a theme we recurrently come back to on this show, which is, why is this show so intent on showing these people that they want to portray clearly in time as heroic? Why would they also portray them as sort of dumb or doing things improperly?
Well, in an earlier episode, wasn't it DeBozo who had no idea what an opioid was?
Yeah.
I will say, 5 episodes into this, occasionally, at an alarming frequency, these law enforcement professionals do things that are inexplicable.
Inexplicable and incredibly unprofessional.
Yeah.
So
like the interrogation scene in the jump plane.
Yeah.
Right, where DeBozo got pushed out of the plane. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so a few more things, which is they find out that the unit that were in these planes flew over the area that the pod was found in. No one ever reported it being lost, and the money was never found.
So it sounds like maybe he was part of a conspiracy.
Yes, it certainly seems like it. Additionally, Gibbs says in this clip that we've got coming up here that Gibbs wants to talk to the onboard NCIS agent from 1994.
Okay, so he's going to go back in time.
Still working for us. I want to talk to the onboard NCIS Special Agent 94.
What if he's not with us?
I want to talk to the onboard NCIS Special Agent 94. My mommy had a wedding ring.
And a wife to go with it.
Got a current address?
Not yet.
The deceased was a Caucasian.
You can see what I mean with the editing stuff, with that, they pack this so closely together. It's so annoying. Almost everyone just, as soon as one person stops talking and one person replies, the next person's already talking. Makes things very irritating.
It does convey a sense of urgency and teamwork.
It does seem that they are very well coordinated. If it weren't for the fact that Gibbs seems to be telling them the most basic possible information,
yes,
hey, we had an NCIS investigation about this specific thing, which turns out now to be untrue. Even in the clip we had a few things ago, the very first sound is Kate throwing a file onto Gibbs's desk and saying, this is his service record. And then Gibbs picks it up and hands it back to her to tell her to amend it. What is the point of that space work? She should just be holding it and saying, maybe she could just be saying, here's his service record. And then she puts it down and he says, amend it because it was wrong. And she says, I already did. That would show that she's professional, that she's capable, that she knows what to do.
Competent,
instead of Gibbs just being a reactionary force, that he constantly has to guide these people through every single step. And whenever Tony is told, if he's still with us, then get the NCIS agent. And he says, well, what if he's not? And Gibbs is get him anyway.
Yeah.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
Maybe he means if he's not dead.
Right.
But, again, that feels like a thing you would already do. You would already be trying to look at them.
I mean, the show is an amalgam of cop show stereotypes, just in a different setting, right? And so, a lot of these themes and so on are familiar to us as people who've watched a lot of television.
Oh, yeah.
It's just in an NCIS skin, right? But I'm looking forward to more incompetence from them as the episode unfolds, because what has happened with these shows is that the way they get introduced and the story starts to unfold is in a fairly linear fashion, but about 3/4 into each show, it just goes off in a bizarre direction, right?
It really does.
What are you doing, right? Like, what they did? What? So we're not there. I think we're probably about maybe 15 or 20% into the show. So I'm looking forward to that turn into surrealness where I think, yeah, this is a bad show, but now I'm enjoying it.
Oh yeah, there's always a point where it takes just the wildest left turn, and you can go, okay, this is turned into Death Wish 5 or something.
Yeah,
like
right.
It's turned into something.
So someone came in and said,
shit.
we're going to punch up this script and we're going to do it in ways that are going to be bewildering to the rest of the writers.
Totally.
So I love the name of this next clip. You have Murder Victim Was Murdered.
Yeah, we're getting into this next clip. Although I think the audio started before the clip started because of how close together these two scenes were. So I think all Ducky says in the audio that we've missed so far is the victim was a Caucasian male. So let's pick up there.
He did say that. Yeah.
No. As I told you, the fracture to the jaw was post-mortem, obviously inflicted by the crash. This amount of bleeding could only occur when he was alive.
Which means that Lieutenant Shills was murdered and then stuffed in the pod.
Yes. Yes, I suppose it does.
Well, you know, when he said that, which means that he was killed first and then put in the pod, there was this, the listeners can't see the video, right? So Ducky looks at him and says, yes. And the way I took his initial reaction was like, of course that's the conclusion, you moron, right? I thought that was his perspective. But then he sort of takes a beat and says, I think you're probably right. Or however he said that, right?
Yeah.
So he had the initial reaction that I had, which was like, of course, you idiot. That's how that happened.
Yeah.
But then Ducky, the medical examiner with untold decades of experience, was missed a beat and said, yeah, that's now that you mention it, that's probably what happened.
So
that was a weird scene.
It's so weird. I cut off some of the beginning of it because it's just Ducky saying medical things. But for some reason, he feels the need to mention that the victim was of Nordic descent. That feels loaded nowadays.
Right, so he ran like a 23andMe DNA analysis on top of everything else.
I guess so.
Yeah.
He says the jaw was broken, and that's one of the things that we catch here in this clip. The jaw was broken and fractured, but there was no bleeding. And then, of course, as always happens, Ducky started monologuing about a thing that doesn't matter because they need to show that Ducky is smart, and you do that by having them know things.
Right.
Like, I think it's something about the Egyptians, maybe. And then my next two notes. Shills bled out, possibly, because of massive internal hemorrhaging. And then, bum, the big music that we get. Shills was murdered and then stuffed into the pod. And like you said so well there, I don't know what other idea they could have had.
Yeah.
I don't know what other possibility. Which is like, Abby already said she didn't think that the fingerprints would be the victims. So, does she think that that this person was murdered? Or is she just guessing?
They're just throwing spaghetti on the wall.
Yeah, really, truly. So in this next clip, Gibbs has another cup of coffee, which again made me laugh, but also harder.
Right.
Okay. And then they're still working on finding the address for Shill's wife. And I think in this clip that lasts a very brief period of time, Kate finally gets it.
I found Lieutenant Shills' widow. She's remarried and living in Arlington.
Go get her.
Go get her. Okay.
Why did I include that?
Well,
So, but I'm so confused because the document that she seems to have pulled up is just a document that says the woman's name on it. And like,
I mean, I don't think it takes brilliant police work to find a widow of, like, the guy was in the military.
I really don't
right?
think so.
I mean, the military had extensive records on his family, and presumably she was part of TRICARE, which is like the medical stuff, and so I mean, they probably. Well, they're being investigators, but they're like, it's stuff you and I could do.
Yeah. Whenever I get a fraudulent text, I look up and it doesn't seem like an obvious spam text, and I think it might be just from another person, you can just Google almost any phone number now, and it will come up with 8 different results, and one of them's probably right.
Yeah.
That is almost as easy as this would be.
Yeah. Yeah. But, one of these days...
Or, looking up an obit.
You're going to be contacted by an actual Nigerian prince, a real one, and you're going to dismiss it because you're so jaded by, living in modernity, and you're going to miss out on a lot of money.
You know what, though? There's this book that I started reading about Nigeria years and years ago, and in the early part of the book, they describe, a Nigerian street food, and it sounds absolutely...
Really?
Yeah, it's like marinated steak tips or marinated steak pieces or something like that.
That does sound
it's
good.
served on a skewer. I can't remember what it's called, but it sounds amazing.
Yeah. Fit for princes.
Okay, so Gibbs finds the address, or not Gibbs, Kate finds the address for the wife and then goes off to get her. And this is also whenever I realized how to properly spell the victim's name. It's not, I just started typing Shills, Shills, like the plural of shill. Mm-hmm. But apparently it's Schilz, because this show hates me and having to spell things. That's why in my notes, instead of writing Tony and Kate, I just write T and K.
Okay. All right. So this is the widow we're about to see.
Yes. So this is the widow we're about to see. There's a few more things before we get in there. Tony says that the agent that was on the case that they're doing now from 94 is now stationed at NCIS Pearl Harbor. And then there is a protracted, supposedly comedic conversation where Tony tries to get Gibbs to tell him his age.
His age. Okay.
That's it.
Oh, so you're not going to share that clip, so apparently it's not that funny. But okay.
Oh, no, it's not. I mean, it's not funny. It's really long and it's not funny.
Okay.
Then they also look at they look at the case file, the case notes from the 94 investigation, and they find out a few things. Shill's shoes disappeared, and also Gibbs can't really see the paper because he's old, and that's the one joke from this episode. They also talk about how the agent or the Navy in general jumped to a bunch of conclusions about how or whether or not he got away. And this is feeding into one of our other storylines, which gets in with the widow. First of all, Kate is there with the widow. Of course, the widow doesn't believe the story that her husband stole all of this money. And then my next note, she has remarried. She has remarried a guy named Randy, and I'm sure he has absolutely nothing to do with this. And we get into the clip and we learn something that I feel like I kind of already knew, but it's nice to have it spelled out.
You haven't gotten anything? Flags and benefits are only for the honorably discharged. You haven't been in the Navy very long, have you?
I'm still not. As I told you, I'm an NCIS special agent. I've been that for only a month.
I don't care for myself. Randy and I get by, but if you clear Mark's name, Alicia will benefit. She'll have a better life. Money for college.
Okay. So Kate's declared that she works for NCIS, so thanks for spelling that out. The lady thought that she was in the Navy, but not in uniform. Uh-huh. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and carrying a firearm.
And a badge.
Yeah.
A gold badge.
Which I'm sure people do in the Navy.
Yeah, all the time. We have, in addition to just righting the wrong of finding the murderer, we're also going to end up righting the wrong of this poor woman and her child not receiving the benefits they were owed. So
Precisely.
We know that's going to, So we've got emotional skin in the game now.
Yep. Now we learn another thing that is very interesting here, which is that on the day that the victim died, that is the same day that she, the wife, gave birth to their child. And he called on the day that he disappeared. This is very crucial information.
Okay. So he died on the day that his daughter was born.
And he called on the day that his daughter was born.
Okay, but they were out to sea. Didn't they say that they had just returned from a deployment, but they were still like a day away or something? Like, how did they describe
I think they were fairly close.
Right.
But I think you are right that they make some notice about how he managed to call in very specifically, got permission because of it.
Okay.
All right. So now we're in the office. I don't have clips for the next few ones, partly out of spite, because the relationship that we are going to witness between Agent Gibbs and the onboard agent from the 94 case is so specific and annoying that I almost just didn't want to include it in the clips at all. So what we're learning is that the onboard agent was this guy named Agent Owens, who's played by the actor David Ramsey. If you don't know David Ramsey, I hate to be specific about this. This is one of the first times in this show that there has been a prominent actor of color, that there's been a prominent person of color, other than, I think, like, 2 kids playing basketball. And I think, notably, this is one of the only times that there's been a character of color that wasn't a guy holding a gun, or a person about to be shot and holding a gun. So they're video conferencing this guy, and Gibbs is immediately very mad at him, and he will only be that for the rest of the episode. Because Gibbs is immediately blaming him for this guy, who I guess he's automatically assuming is innocent for this moment, for getting him dishonorably discharged in his death and keeping his wife and child from getting their benefits. The other thing that Gibbs is mad at him about is that Owens didn't he didn't force the entire crew who had just returned to dock to stay on the ship and search the entire ship in order to find the lost money.
I feel that would have happened, though, right? Like, I feel that would have happened not because of any NCIS regulation. I feel that would have happened because of the amount of money involved. I'll just tell you very briefly. As you know, I served in the Navy. I was on a small ship, a destroyer. This is not an exact correlation, but it'll give you an indication kind of how the Navy and the military does things. All weapons are logged.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm talking about small arms, because there's a lot of small arms on a Navy ship, on a warship. Shotguns, pistols, and so forth, rifles. And one of the junior officers lost a bullet. He just lost it, right? He couldn't find it. It was just one bullet.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm not downplaying the significance of that, right? But it wasn't like a cache of weapons went missing, right? It was like he had a sidearm. It had, I don't know, like 6 rounds in the magazine, and somehow he lost one of the bullets, and the ship was locked down.
Wow.
Right? Like, we spent a significant amount of time looking for that one bullet, right? And here, in this situation, we're talking about $1.2 million.
Yeah.
And granted, these guys have been out to sea for 6 months. These deployments usually go for about 6 months. The Navy doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right?
And
I mean,
I think they've
got food, they have racks, they can sleep, right? You know?
And they do specify, it's not like they didn't search the ship at all. Gibbs is just accusing him of not forcing the crew to search well enough.
Okay.
So
okay.
I'm glad that your experience lent credibility to that, because the way that they characterize this guy is infuriating for multiple reasons. Also, if you want a mental image, if you've ever seen the TV show Arrow, Agent Owens is played by David Ramsey.
No, I know, I have it up. Yeah, he was Spartan.
Spartan or John Diggle.
And I'm not proud of this, but I watched every episode of Arrow, and that was a terrible show.
I tried to,
right.
And I think it might have been one of the reasons why I stopped watching television.
Yeah, I could believe it. But what strikes me, I pulled it up on my phone. He's 53 years old as of this year. And this show was broadcast in 2000 and when was it? 2001?
This is 2003.
2003. He was young, man.
Yeah.
He was
so
really young.
Actually, he's playing. That means that in this episode, he's said to be 37, but that means he's 31 playing 37.
Yeah. And also, I'm always struck when you show me the clips, too, of how young all the actors, particularly Mark Harmon, looks.
Oh, yeah. Because more recent clips and videos of him now, and his voice, too. Chris Evans' old man, Steve Rogers, and Mark Harmon, and they look very similar.
They really do. Yeah, I pulled up some pictures on my phone. Yeah, I mean, it's clearly Mark Harmon. It's just old Mark Harmon. But you can, he's like, sometimes you see a person who's aged quite a bit, and you think, man, they don't even look like what they looked like when they were young. This is Mark Harmon becoming a more extreme version of Mark Harmon as he ages. Yeah.
Okay. So after this, at the end of the scene, Gibbs then orders Owens to show up to the ship to help them search again. He orders him to go to get across the country, not just across the country, from Hawaii to New England.
Across the Pacific, yeah.
And tells him to get there so that they can search the ship. And Owens ends the call by being like, hey, you can't do that.
Well, they say that a lot, too. And the event happened in 94. The show was 2003, I think you said. So it's been 9 years since the incident within the show happened. Man, can you imagine just being some enlisted guy on the Eisenhower and finding $1.2 million that had been spirited away?
Gosh, I would love that. Would be amazing.
In a maintenance closet somewhere. Yeah, I wouldn't have said it. I would just kept
absolutely
kept it,
not. Just slowly putting it in between book papers.
So does it happen? Does he actually show up to the Eisenhower? The Owens is his name? He does.
Yeah, he does. It's a few scenes away, and I'm going to be honest, my entire note for the scene where they're on the ship is they're already searching the ship again. That's my only note.
Yeah, okay.
I can't remember anything. I mean, and the geography sometimes of this show, like immediately after this where they're video conferencing in that big wall room, is Gibbs goes down to the lab where they're opening up this pod still, and Abby goes through how the pods are detached from the plane. And it involves this stuff with like levers and hooks and automated systems. And the way it looks like this one wasn't automated with the controls of the plane, it was pried off. There are specific dents that were made that wouldn't have been there if it was done with the mechanisms that were intended. So it's very clear that this thing was thrown off on.
Just a clarifying question. I was under the impression these are fuel tanks essentially, right? And they're attached to the bottom of the plane.
I believe that this one is a fuel tank, yeah.
Right. And I'm aware that these aircraft can drop their fuel tanks when they're empty to lighten their load and make them more aerodynamic. These are high-performance planes, right? And so I was under the impression that this tank had been dropped by an aircraft as it flew over this area, but you're saying somehow it was pried off the aircraft?
Well, so Abby says that she thinks that it was that like the little hooks that were keeping it on were pried open just enough so that the next time that they were flying, they would fall off eventually.
Oh, okay. Someone sabotaged it.
Yeah, someone sabotaged it. I said that wrong. That somebody didn't do it all the way, but did it most of the way so that eventually it would fall off.
Right.
Okay. After they're going through a few more records, I think Kate gets back, and this is another one of those things where sort of the stars align, where multiple characters are figuring things out at the same time. This is where we discover that the assistant dispersing officer on the ship, would you like to guess who it is?
I don't know. No, tell. Just go ahead and tell me.
It's the husband of the victim's widow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think I would have guessed that.
I realized after I asked that I probably hadn't given enough information, and guess what? Neither does the show. Because, of course, it has to be a surprise. After that, like I said, they're just on the ship again, already looking at stuff. And again, this is where the geography starts to mess with me. Starting off in the office, Gibbs is video conferencing. I'm pretty sure with Tony there. And then some amount of time has to have passed by. Gibbs goes down to the lab where they talk about how all of this stuff works or doesn't work.
Right.
They discuss how the widowed woman is now married to the assistant dispersing officer. And then they're already at the ship with the guy that they were talking to on video conferencing.
Wait, so just to clarify, her current husband is also a dispersing officer.
On that same ship, yes.
On the Eisenhower. So she likes a man in uniform that can handle a lot of money. Okay,
I guess so. Now,
yeah.
So they're already on the ship again, and this is where this next clip is. We're finally meeting the new husband. I'm going to warn that the very beginning of this clip is very loud because it starts with a gunshot, so I'm going to turn the volume.
I'm going to guess that he has a mustache.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thanks. You here to shoot?
I hope not. I'm Special Agent Gibbs. This is Special Agent Todd, NCIS.
No mustache. So my guess that he was going to have a mustache was wrong. But they catch up to him as he's shooting skeet.
Yeah.
Or skeet shooting. I don't know how you... I'm not rich enough to do that.
I don't know. It could be both. I don't really care which one it is.
But anyway, he's hanging around on a firing range shooting stuff because that's, I guess, his hobby, shooting things.
Yeah.
And that's where they tracked him down. So the guy we just saw is the new husband.
That's the new husband of the victim's widow.
Yes.
And
okay, gotcha.
They start talking, and he is immediately confrontational. he's immediately like, I thought I talked to you guys all those years ago anyway. The Navy said that I didn't do anything wrong, yada, yada, yada. And then they go back inside. They talk about how he and his wife met. And I have in my note that this is either a terrible red herring, he's literally wearing a red shirt, or this is just... It's either a red herring or it's worse. Because imagine if this is the guy that did it. That's incredibly unsatisfying. Again, we're like half to 2/3 of the way through this episode. That's never how these shows work. It's never the person they think it is 2/3 of the way through. Never is.
And also, I just want to confirm, he knew the murder victim because they both served together on the Eisenhower. Right?
And then
he's still on the Eisenhower.
No, he's not anymore.
Oh, okay.
He's left the service.
That wouldn't have made any sense. Okay. Oh, he's left the service. Okay, thank you. All right.
He's left the service, and he reveals that he and his now wife met at her husband's memorial service.
Okay.
He then tells a very heartwarming story that Kate says she fully agrees with, and then Gibbs says a bunch of misogynistic stuff about a guy flick and a chick flick. I did not include that because it's annoying and dumb.
Right.
Then we have this clip, which is, I think, like the closest that this show has ever been to conscious of the real world.
This is my day job. At night, I do freelance accounting. Mary and I rent a house. Alicia goes to public school. I drive a 6-year-old Saturn. Now, do you think I'd live like that if I had $1 million?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a pretty compelling argument.
Yeah. And even Gibbs is just like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Everything is kind of garbage right now.
Yeah. But you said he got But you said he got immediately confrontational when they showed up.
Well, that was before. That was like the secondary thing after they follow him in. This is after he's sort of chilled out a little bit.
Right. Okay.
There's the sort of arc where they introduce themselves. He gets confrontational about it. Then they go back inside. He manages to convince them that he didn't do it and has nothing to do with it. And then they leave him alone. And that's it. That's the whole thing.
Okay.
That's what these 2.5
we don't see him again?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
So now, after that, like, remember, they're at the ship. Then Gibbs and Kate go to the shooting range. Now Gibbs is on the ship. And he's now in person with Owens. And he's still very aggressive. Oh, and I'm pretty sure, like, that was just Gibbs and Kate together. Now, for some reason, Kate is calling Gibbs on the phone while Gibbs is on the boat. That's in our most recent clip, in this clip right here.
Lieutenant Shills was probably killed by an accomplice.
Or killed catching the thief in the act.
Are you interested in clearing him or catching the bad guys?
Both. If we exonerate him, then his wife and daughter will get the death benefits they deserve.
Well, she has a heart.
Yeah, it's nice enough. Also, I think I may have solved the geography problem, even though it's wildly confusing, which is I think she's going somewhere to talk to another person related to the whole situation.
Okay. Right. So are you saying that the editing is poor and that you don't know what amount of time occurred between the two scenes?
Absolutely no idea.
Okay.
Because like we were just talking about, sometime between like 3 scenes ago, whenever they're video conferencing with a guy, then Gibbs goes and talks to Abby in a lab. The scene directly after that. So there is one scene between video conferencing a guy telling him to get on a plane so they can search a ship. One scene, or I guess there's 2. One scene, he's there.
Right. Just a quantum leap. Okay.
Like he didn't have any other work to do?
Yeah. Well, this is all they do. They're very dedicated to their jobs.
I guess so. Let's see. Now that they're on the ship, Gibbs is still really mad at Owens, and he's specifically irritated because Owens made an assumption about something and then basically left it as a note in his report, and then the Navy, in following up on it and making decisions, took his assumption as fact. So Gibbs is blaming this guy because he wrote something down and then other people made a decision based off of the thing he wrote down. And then Kate goes to a golf course and she interrupts a woman as she's making a putt or taking her first swing. I don't know anything about golf. The whole ploy... Oh, this actress, I cannot remember her name. This is Michael Scott's toxic wife from The Office.
Right, and that's this next clip.
That's this next one, yes. So a woman is just, she's being real hot while golfing, distracting all the other players, naturally all of whom are men. So they talk about what's going on and the fact that there's a, an update to the case. And she has some pretty good reasoning as to why it couldn't have been her.
That Mark's been dead all these years. Always imagined him on some beach in Mexico sipping margaritas.
You believe he stole the money?
He and Randy were the only ones who had the combo, and Randy was playing poker all night. Had to have been Mark.
Well, if that's true, then his accomplice got away with the money.
Easy to see where you're going with this, Agent Todd. 2 million. I carry this for good luck.
You can laminate a losing ticket.
Come on home with me, honey. I'll show you the write-up from the Canton Gazette. It was too big to laminate, though. I had to have it framed.
Let's go.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Jan Levinson was the character's name in The Office. Yeah, you're right. Okay. But I didn't quite follow. She showed her a lottery ticket that was a losing lottery ticket?
So she has a bunch of... So clearly that this woman, despite not having done it, she has a lot of money. She's at this nice golf club. And Kate basically prompts her with a thing I feel like a law enforcement agent wouldn't say, which is like, either you took the money and killed this guy or you won the lottery. And then she says, won 2 million. And then she pulls out a lottery ticket. She says she keeps for good luck. And Kate quips back to sort of say, like, in case, maybe she was waiting for this day or she's using it as a defense mechanism, that, like, just because a lottery ticket is a loser doesn't mean that you can't laminate it. So she could have been using this as a cover story. A ticket doesn't have to win in order for you to be able to pretend that it won.
That clears that up. Thank you. I was not following. And I have to ask an even more basic question. Like, who is this lady? What is her relationship to all the other characters?
Oh, so this is Lieutenant Lynch. She was also on the Eisenhower.
Okay, so she was on the... Oh, that's Lieutenant Lynch. All right, okay. And she is wealthy because she is indicating that she did win the lottery. She's saying, she's asserting that she won the least. Okay, so Kate says you either stole the money or you won the lottery, and the lady's like, oh, it's interesting you'd say that because despite the astronomical odds of me never winning the lottery and you saying that in this moment, I happen to win the lottery.
I happened to win it.
So that's how that went down.
I happened to win it for slightly more than the amount that you're saying as well.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not piece all that together, so thank you.
Maybe this is my selection of clips or by explanation, because I know that I weave and duck around things, because trying to follow this sometimes is quite a thing. We then get a very short...
Well, the plot is convoluted.
That is also
true. They keep throwing in these new characters, and then they just disappear, and so on, and okay.
So, in a scene in the morgue where Abby goes down to talk to Ducky, as she walks in, she yells 4, and that makes Ducky duck, and he gets mad at her, because that's a thing that you yell whenever you're playing golf and don't want somebody to get hit. And I guess he's played so much golf that it's just an instinct that he just immediately ducks. Okay. And then they discuss again the wounds of the victim and how it seems like they were caused in some way by the rattling around of the golf clubs inside the thing. No, wait a minute. No, there was a puncture wound to the chest cavity where it punctured the pericardial sac and then it hit the heart.
And going back to the initial scenes, there's some golf clubs in the tank with Lynch's name on them. Mm-hmm. And that's the same Lynch that she talked to.
It's the same one that
she
we
went
just,
to at the golf course. Mm-hmm. Okay, so golf clearly figures predominantly in this woman's life. Okay.
Yeah, she's just real at it about golfing.
She enjoys golf. Okay.
I don't, like, the question of why would they even be in there? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, I don't... Well,
like they've determined that he was murdered, and that there are this woman's golf clubs in there.
Right, and then there was then Farnsworth. There was this other Farnsworth guy.
Yeah, I think that may have been their CEO.
So it just the way I took this, and this is unfolding through you're telling, but I'm consuming it as though I would be consuming any sort of media. And, you know, as I say, we're all experienced television watchers at this point, right? So I'm just assuming they threw in all those seemingly disparate details to indicate that this is going to be complicated. This is a messy affair. Right?
That is probably the best assumption that we can make. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay. So the last scene, she just met Lynch, we think she's a bad lady. She's a bad lady because she's rich. That's just enough to indict her. But she's rich, and so now we're moving into the next scene, which you've labeled Gibbs flashback powers. I can't wait to see that.
We're cutting back to the ship again, where they're specifically talking about the office that has the safe, that has the dispersing area, and they're just discussing Owen's investigation of the situation. And this is just another one of the things that we like to say around here at Gibbs It To Me Straight, which is that a lot of what Gibbs is able to do seems based on the fact that he has some kind of preternatural ability to see into the past.
There's a paranormal aspect to this, which is never spoken of outright. Yes.
No, because I think if it were, it would make the show both less interesting and more it would make it paradoxically interesting.
Well, the show would be less interesting, but Gibbs would be more interesting.
That is true.
Right.
That is right.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what? There's probably something we could develop as the rest of the show goes on about Gibbs and his talents of sight that I think we could probably get into, but we can talk about that later. So this clip is just them talking about like the way that Owens carried out his situation, and here we have our clip.
The safe hadn't been jimmied. Ensign Wiles and Aaron said nothing was missing but the cash.
Okay, all right.
So,
you know, for our listening audience, there's something going on between Owens and that golf lady.
Well, it very much that clip very much wants you to think that is the case. And it's also indicated by the fact that he calls Randy Wiles, he calls him by his title, Ensign Wiles, and then calls the other person. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I might be throwing things. You know what? I'll correct myself in a second, which is he calls this other person by their first name. And I've just realized, looking at my notes again, that the person that Kate was talking to at the golf course isn't Lynch, I don't think, because they keep calling her Petty Officer Toner, I think. So either she's gotten married, or this is an entirely different person, and Lynch has nothing to do with it.
Huh. Okay. So the plot thins. Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to observe that Owens, and again, the listening audience can't see this, I got my guy with the mustache. Because he has a mustache.
Yes, Owens has a mustache.
I knew there was going to be a guy with a mustache in the show.
And it's a pretty good one.
We talked about how young he was. He's a good-looking guy. You know, I'm happily married, but he's a good-looking guy. We talked about how young he was, and I guarantee you they gave him that mustache to make him look older.
Oh, definitely.
I guarantee you that's why they did that. Yeah.
Can I tell you something fun?
Please.
There is a point in this show where Gibbs has a mustache.
Oh, really? I can't wait. I'm a sucker for a guy in a mustache, yeah.
Okay, I'm also excited for that now because it's a real interesting period in the show.
But I do want to say for the listening audience that in the clip that you just showed, you know, when I'm seeing the video, there appeared to be a flirtation between Owens, the other NCIS guy, and the golf lady. I'm just going to call her golf lady.
Let's just call her golf lady because I don't remember if they explain away that Lynch died or something like that. Maybe they do. It's a very small detail in a sea of completely useless information.
Yes.
They're on the ship. They keep talking. Gibbs goes back to the lab because Abby apparently can't call him. Abby has found an orange fiber that she thinks might be related to a life jacket. Just a little bit more speculation. They get
more in the sea of useless information. Here's another strand. Yes.
And this is from. I think that this was a fiber that was found on the body of the victim. That's why they're looking into it so much. They're back at the office. Owen and Gibbs are still kind of being annoying to one another. And I think everyone's sort of working late while they're trying to piece things together. And this just is like, Owens is there. Gibbs comes back from talking to Abby and is surprised that Owens is still there. And he's like, my plane doesn't leave until tomorrow morning. And I'm not staying at a hotel. whenever I could just stay here, I guess. And then then this scene happens at night, and then Gibbs and Tony fall asleep. Kate shows up with a coffee, which Gibbs takes and drinks all at once. And then Tony and Owens race to find out information about a fourth person who was involved in this, named Martinez, who was all a part of, I believe, the unit that were, I think, aboard like a plane together. They were all a part of the unit that made up the crew of this Tomcat that the cargo pod fell off of. So, oh my goodness, we get a bunch of information all here all at once. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a clip. I can't remember where the this is context of something that should still be on the ship, but this is just to prove that Gibbs is inconsistent and annoying, which is that they get into an argument about something harebrained and nonsensical. And Gibbs asks Owens his opinion about something, and Owens very sensibly doesn't want to answer.
So I get the feeling at this point that... Oh, I'm sorry.
Here, wait. Let me back that up, and then you can tell me again.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm only getting brief clips of this, but is Gibbs just bullying Owen around?
Absolutely.
Okay. And Owen's just taking it?
Yeah, really, he is.
Okay, all right. And do you get the feeling as you're watching it that Owens is being unfairly bullied around by Gibbs?
It really seems like it, because I can't remember the chronology of some of this, because I think in later seasons they say that like Gibbs was a part of the predecessor of NCIS, but Tony at the beginning of this episode is like, man, this guy goes all the way back. He might even be around your age or before your time, boss. And that's what starts the whole age thing. So part of me thinks that this is Gibbs trying to show that he can still keep authority regardless of, supposed seniority or something. But it just, like you said, it comes across as useless bullying.
And you think there's a possibility that he feels threatened by this other guy?
That could very well be the case. Either that, or they're just trying to show off Gibbs.
Male fragility, yes.
If there's any consistent characterization we've gotten of Gibbs, it's that he doesn't like carelessness whenever it's not exhibited by people that are on his team specifically.
Or maybe his heart was broken by a man with a mustache. You never know.
Maybe so. You know what? We may actually find out later in the show that that's true.
Okay, I can't wait. All right, so I interrupted this clip when you were about to show it, so I'll be quiet now.
Oh, that's okay. I think in this moment they're talking about all of the people that could have been the one to kill the victim shills, and Gibbs just asks, "Who do you think is the most likely person?" And that's where we're picking this up.
Anyone on the hangar deck. Who's most likely? You're asking me to make an assumption, Agent Gibbs.
I'm not asking you to write it down.
The pilot, the plane captain.
Okay, so that's where they find out one of the newer names, which is just like, who would have been most likely to be in on taking a guy from the dispersing office, because this is one of the other things they have to figure out, which is that he wasn't killed immediately and then stuffed into the pod. He was killed somewhere else and then taken to the cargo pod. Who was the person that would have been most likely to take him between those places? And that's where they...
and also, I just came to a realization.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an aviator. I don't know, right? But as I understand it, airplanes, especially like the big planes and so on, but it has to be true of these fighter planes.
Mm-hmm.
The weight of the plane is very important, right? And they always have to figure out what the weight of the plane is before they take off. And there's a certain amount of fuel in these drop tanks, and they weigh a certain amount. So maybe they put the golf clubs in there to bring to balance the weight, so that the pilot would think that the weight was like there was fuel in the drop tank.
I'm very tempted to believe that that's a pretty reasonable assumption to make, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that that's probably something they said that I forgot about.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'll be quiet now. All right.
Oh, you're all right. So that's where they get the name of Martinez, and where after this other little thing with Owen and Gibbs clashing out, falling asleep at desks, and then Tony and Owens sort of compete to look through their databases and figure out as much as they can about Martinez, who they discover was a Mexican.
So they're racing databases. Okay, so they're competing against each other.
Yes, they're just looking. They're trying to Google fast enough. They basically just like ping pong back and forth, I don't know how they're finding new information, if they're just, like, they're finding different info as one another, if they're searching the exact same bank of information, but that's besides the point. And, like, one of them will find something and then hit a dead end, then the other one will find something and then hit a dead end until they find out. The last piece of information I have is that he was in a hotel in Guadalajara because he's from Mexico.
Martinez, the pilot, the F-14
Yes,
pilot.
Martinez is I think he was the pilot, or he was the Rio or something like that. Okay. And here we have the clip, Martinez, Mexico, hotel, dead.
Found him in Guadalajara at the Presidente Intercontinental. Stayed there for 10 days, and then I lost him too.
Right. Okay. They really are competing against each other.
Yeah, and Tony's hair looks dumb.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then here we have another one. I'll just edit. I guess I'll edit around this one, but then we get another bit of information which seems disconnected, like you said, which is that Abby has discovered that the fiber they found on the body isn't from a life preserver. Here's the clip mailbag.
It's the mailbag, Abby.
Wait, he just looked at one strand under a microscope and concluded it was from a mailbag?
Yeah. Well, I think the only thing that happens between whenever that scene starts and the clip I took out is that Abby says what that material is, like what the fiber is made of. She's like, oh yeah, it's polyurethane nylon or something like that. And somehow he knows the material that is the fiber, or that specific thing is made out of. Oh my goodness. It's ridiculous.
Well, it reminds me of the old Sherlock Holmes stories. I was a big fan of Sherlock Holmes, and when I was a kid, I read all the stories, and one of the, he's got the reputation storied now through literature of just being this genius with these insights, but he was very careful. He studied things. So he did things like he knew all the different brands of tobacco that existed. Because something that a bad person might leave behind is like a pipe or something like that. So I'm thinking of Gibbs as more of a Sherlock Holmes methodical kind of person who has like this significant collection of different fibers that he studies and is classified. And he's got under like how people who collect insects have them like pinned in like glass. He has different fibers pinned down with labels and so forth. So just for that case, or just for the off chance that he would need to be able to identify a certain fiber. That's my headcanon for him.
That's a great one. Yeah. I like that one. In this next one, all the while, Kate has been investigating whether or not this other individual that might be involved, Petty Officer Toner, whether or not she actually won the lottery.
Golf lady.
Right, I understand. Are you sure?
Ohio lottery?
Uh-huh. Okay, thank you. Aaron Toner was telling the truth. August 1094, she hit a pick six, bought the ticket at a 7-Eleven outside of Canton, Ohio. She hit for $37,000. She lied. She and Martinez stole that money, not Lieutenant Shills.
Well, okay, so she is lying, apparently. She's able to prove that, but she's making a big assumption there about what that implies.
They do make this big jump with Martinez, and it's because he's only ever brought up in speaking, so there's never anything to like call my attention to him in the clips other than whenever they find out he's dead. So they find out eventually that the other two people, what is it? I think Lynch was one of them. That there were two other people that were a part of this unit.
Farnsworth?
That were maybe Farnsworth as well. That they were killed either like in some kind of accident or in action. And it was sometime in between 94 and 03. So they don't even.
So Golf Lady there was a quartet, it was a conspiracy, and then she systematically killed all of her co-conspirators.
That is certainly a possibility.
Okay.
They have definitively at least assumed that some of these people got together along Martinez, Golf Lady, that they have figured these things out, and then Toner managed to win the lottery for $37,000 and then has been using that as a way of covering up that she went through and, killed Martinez.
Yeah.
Next, we've got a few different scenes that involve Golf Lady. Kate goes all the way back to talk to her, and for whatever reason, even though Gibbs has had no problem with this before, is like, you can't arrest her, even though they have her pretty heavily implicated in this, but you can ask her to come back voluntarily.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the scene where she manages to do that, where Golf Lady is again on the golf course.
I can call you back to the Navy, Petty Officer Toner.
The hell you can.
These are orders. Recalling you to active duty as a material witness in a capital offense. All I gotta do is ink 'em, honey, and your ass is back in the Navy.
Well, I think she's just jealous that the other lady's rich.
I mean, I'm kind of jealous, but I wouldn't, force a person to go back into the armed forces because of it.
And it's been about 10 years since all this happened, and I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that Golf Lady is the guilty party, and it was $1.2 million, right? And it's a significant amount of money, right? But they're making out like she is independently wealthy, but she's got to launder that money somehow, right?
Yeah.
And presumably she lives in a house that she's purchased. She's bought a car. These expenses start to pile up, right? So I don't know if she would be a member of the upper class based on those ill-gotten gains, that she would have to be very careful about how she spent. Right?
Yeah, I don't even know. It would be a fun calculation to figure out, because the longer she's sitting on that money, the less it's worth. So, from the middle to the end of 1994 to 2003, I don't know how much value $1.2 million loses.
Yeah,
but it's not like winning $37,000 in the lottery is a pretty good amount.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you'd be able to fake it being that much more.
Right, and presumably the golf, I don't know what the right word is, the club that she attends, there's dues and all this kind of stuff, and she's not just gonna, I don't know what the dues are, but let's say they're, I don't know, it looks like it's high end, so maybe it's like $20,000 a year or something like that. She can't just bring in a bag of money and drop it on the front desk and say, here are my dues for the year, right? It would have a big dollar sign, on it, by the way. So it just...
Oh, of course.
I am more interested in the logistics and the details of how she got this money and was able to launder it in such a way that she could live this lifestyle. And unfortunately, I'm certain none of that's going to be explored.
Absolutely not. The only thing I can say to make sense of this is that whenever the victim disappeared, if I had all of that money, then eventually I would launder it by buying lottery tickets all over the place.
Yeah.
Because, even if I cut myself off after I've spent $100,000 on lottery tickets, if I haven't won enough to be able to launder the rest of the money that I have with the winnings from my lottery tickets, then I'm just going to stop, and I'm just going to, slowly use it to pay for groceries or something like that. That's what I would do. That's what I think would be an interesting way for her to have done it, which is just by somehow working it in slowly. Maybe she spent a bunch of the money buying all of these tickets, or she's just hiding it. Because that money isn't gonna just go anywhere. Or maybe, I don't know why they picked Ohio either. Maybe it's just because it's far enough away.
Oh wait, she lives in Ohio?
Suspicious. That's where she won the money.
Oh, right, okay. But the implication is...
I don't know why they picked Ohio.
Because they can get to her so easily. The implication is that she still lives somewhere within driving distance of their headquarters.
Yeah, it's not Arlington. I think that's where the wife lives. I can't remember where they say she's at. It must be relatively close, like you said.
Yeah.
After this threat, after Kate threatens to recall her back into the Navy to get her to testify, she does indeed come back to NCIS offices. And she's wearing a tight little red dress in order to, try and be distracting and try and make things harder for everybody there. I was going to say for the men, but for the ladies. So Gibbs is there, and then basically they all do, everyone from the show, everyone that we've met from the show, other than characters that have been in 2 scenes, are there to basically, recall this story to her. And Abby has very helpfully and stupidly made an entire animatic of how the victim was killed.
Lieutenant Shills finished a call to his wife and newborn daughter at 0545.
I threw in that little heel click to show he was really happy.
Yeah, well, not for long. Petty Officer Martinez surprised him with a knife, ransacked the safe, and forced Lieutenant Shills to carry the money to a Tomcat, where he murdered Lieutenant Shills, stuffed him in a pod, and left with the money.
So what do you think?
I think you could use some help from Disney.
Yeah, it did look pretty bad.
Yeah, it did look pretty bad. It looked pretty stupid. They show her this stupid animated thing. She's like, I don't really know if that's quite right. And then they get a little deeper on all of this stuff and they say, you know what? I don't actually think it was like that. We think it was like this. And then they start presenting her with all of the real evidence.
Okay.
And one of them is that they tell her, or I don't know which order this goes in. I'll just go with the order in my notes, which is they show her basically after telling her all of this evidence, you know, like, we think that Martinez killed Shills in the dispersing office room, stuffed his body into a mailbag, and then had to drag him across the ship. And in order to distract from them doing that, you just stood in front of everybody and were hot.
Now, who would have noticed a sailor dragging a mailbag over knee knockers with you walking by?
That is asinine. that is asinine. Right. And all these events happened. They were all actively serving on the Eisenhower when all this happened. So they're all in uniform, right?
Uh-huh.
The working uniform of the Navy at that time were dungarees, right? They've changed their uniforms now. Like they've like normalized the uniforms across the services, and people in the Navy now wear these blue camouflage kind of things. And so, but back at that time, I believe, certainly in '94, they, you know, the silly Popeye sailor hat, right? You know, the white hat, right?
Yeah.
And that type of uniform, right? There's nothing attractive about anyone wearing those uniforms, right? It is you could be a Victoria's Secret supermodel, put on one of those uniforms, and you're hideous, right? Like
and that was kind of intentional, right?
Well, I mean, it's just they were designed for function over form, right? They're durable. Right. They're bell-bottom pants. They're steel-toed boots, right? And you know, there's this. The chambray cloth of the blue dungaree shirts and so on, like and I didn't serve at a time when women were allowed on combat ships, but I have to believe that to a certain degree, gender gets washed away when you're working next to someone daily, right? You know, you're filthy with grease and all that kind of, like, it's just like she didn't unbutton the top button of her dungaree shirt. and then play interference. It would have been more convincing. Yeah, I mean,
it would have been more convincing to just be like, and while he walked by, you found everybody and just pulled their attention in the opposite direction.
Well, it would have been more effective if she was like, I don't know, setting off firecrackers or something as a diversion, right? But just to look hot, quote unquote. And I wanted to say that the listening audience, our listener who's in the audience, couldn't see the video here. The animation that Abby put together, like, they're not in uniform. The graphic or the animation that she made of the killer goth lady, the animation is very well endowed, right? She's wearing a skirt, right? I'm like, I don't. I'm offended by this now, right? This has made me angry because it's so dumb. Like, was she wearing a skirt? Or no, she's just wearing form-fitting clothing is what she's wearing. And she's not in uniform. She's not in uniform. So I don't know. I've now concluded she's not the murderer.
For anyone that wants specific visual reference from a 2000s point of view, imagine the early animated Barbie movies. If anyone has seen those, and I'm talking specifically to my age bracket, and I know that probably people between the ages of like 18 and 27 don't listen to this podcast. If you do, go ahead and feel free to at me, to at the podcast on Blue Sky. You're more than welcome to. I just don't believe that. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like real early 2000s CG low budget animation.
Yeah, it's like the old, like this. You remember there was a computer animated cartoon called Reboot. Do you remember that?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Right. And I think there was another one that was like Beast Wars that was computer animated, right? Yeah, they were like early attempts. It's when they were able to start to animate using computers as opposed to hand drawn, but it had a certain look and feel that was clearly computer animated, and that's what this was.
And also it was after VeggieTales, but before when they should have gone past just VeggieTales.
Yeah, right. So I know just the scenario that they're describing is ludicrous, but the way that they've conveyed this theory through this poor animation makes it even more ludicrous.
It's even more stupid.
So maybe this is that turn into insanity that I was waiting for, but I didn't expect for it to be this stupid.
After we get this, they then tell her, we found one of your fingerprints on a gun that was used to kill Martinez. We matched it to a gun that was used to kill Martinez in Mexico. And if you don't, follow up with us, then we're going to extradite you to Mexico. Here's the clip.
We could extradite you, but Mexican courts really don't like it when gringos kill one of their own.
I don't know if it was you or Martinez that killed Lieutenant Shills. You can tell it any way you want. We'll take it down.
Well, she's been had, right?
Yeah.
She's been had.
So, the other thing, there are actually two things I wanted to say about that clip, which is Donoso getting up right behind her ear makes me viscerally uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's real bad. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be Gringas, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. I actually, I'm trying to teach myself Spanish, and yeah, right. It would be Gringas. That's right.
It would be Gringas, yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't have the same reaction that you had to him getting behind her, because I agree with you. The optics are very poor, but I just assume that a guy like that has no concept of personal space. I just expect.
Oh, of course he doesn't.
Right.
But even imagining that from either perspective, even though she is theoretically a murderer, if I were that close to someone I thought was a murderer, I wouldn't get that close to them.
Yeah.
But also from her perspective, they're trying to get me to confess, and also they're being real weird about it, because there are a lot of people throughout that whole scene. That whole scene's 5 minutes long, and people are constantly like guiding her bodily or putting her back into chairs or getting very close to her, and it's just generally very uncomfortable. That kind of thing isn't needed to get someone to confess to a murder. So I hate to say, this is already our last clip, so I don't know if this one has really lived up to your expectations
or lived down
in
to
terms of this absolutely crazy thing. But we do have one more, and it started to play a little bit into the last one. So let's hope that I can get it right.
No, guys. Don't tell me that.
Here we go.
That fingerprint match was faked? Okay. You guys are crazy.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the equivalent of planting evidence?
It really seems like it is.
Yeah. This is why they tell you to not talk to cops. Right.
Yeah, just not at all.
Yeah, she's been I want an attorney, and if she's got all that money, she probably has an attorney.
Oh,
that she has
definitely.
a direct relationship with.
I don't know why I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
She would have a lawyer with her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She wouldn't be dumb enough just to show up without legal counsel. I mean, she's clearly cunning, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that occurs to me is we were kind of thinking through what does she do with all this money and so forth. It's not like this money's gonna grow. She can't put it in a bank. She can't get certificates of deposit. She can't invest it, right? And she's spending money to cover her tracks. right? Because she's, buying a plane flight down to Mexico. You can't just carry a firearm onto a plane. Presumably she flew down there, right? So she's got to have a contact somewhere in Mexico to purchase a firearm. And she's like, there's per diem expenses, right? You got to eat, and so on. So this money is slowly getting eroded as she's trying to cover her tracks. There were 4 people involved. And so, I pegged this early on. Like, she's going around. It's like Body Heat, right? She's like going around killing all of her co-conspirators. Martinez was one of them, but there were 4 people involved. One of them was the victim. Okay, so he's already dead. Martinez is dead.
I'm not certain that the other 2 that they mention in one scene and then never again were actually in on it, or if it was just Toner and Martinez.
Okay.
But it very well could have been. I know that I'm faltering a little bit in my notes, but there are things that are drops in the bucket in terms of detail, and you never know which one is gonna get picked back up.
Yeah.
But yeah, if like you're saying, she had to go through this process of finding all of these people and killing them in such a way still as to not betray the fact that she has all of this money, she's going to have used a bunch of it up.
Yeah. So I could see her having a nice nest egg. But they convey this sense that she's just living high on life, right? Champagne, golfing, clubs, and so forth. And I don't know if it would work out that way. I've never stolen $1.2 million, so I don't really know.
You know what? Me neither. And I kind of wish that I don't even have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. I am constantly looking for those opportunities. They just never present themselves.
Me too.
Yeah. They just never present themselves. This episode, I keep saying this every time we do this, that the episode that we just watched is the worst episode so far. It's just like, if you visualize this on an XY graph, the line is just going down left to right. This was a really dumb episode.
To remind the listeners, the very first episode of this show concludes with Jethro Gibbs saving the life of the president.
Yeah.
And this one ends with them lying to a woman about finding a fingerprint on a gun because she stole money from the Navy 9 years ago.
How did they find the gun? So he died in Mexico. So there's an untold subplot there where they had to contact Mexican authorities. They had to presumably obtain all the evidence that the Mexican authorities had gathered. Okay, all right. Well, they lied about the...
Well, there is that short clip right before the beginning of this one where Owen says, I don't know about you guys, but in Hawaii it takes forever for stuff from the federales to get to us. And that's whenever they go, oh yeah, it's kind of the same here. And that's where this clip that, this final one starts, where he's going, no. You guys faked that. So they're pulling a bluff.
Right.
They're trying to see if she will bluff them, and it seems credible enough to have convinced her that they know that she killed Martinez.
Yeah, right.
Which seems such an extraordinarily impossible thing.
Right. Two things about that. If she's that crafty, and she is, would she have worn gloves or wiped the gun after? Anyway, so there's
You know what? That's a fantastic point.
Yeah,
or wherever it was that she was.
Yeah, it seems like a significant misstep. But the other thing is, what if their bluff failed?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Right. And we've already concluded throughout these episodes that the interrogation techniques that they use are highly questionable, right?
Incredibly
because there was the one in the plane, right, where he was demanding, tell me the truth, and then there was another one on the Navy ship with the video game guys where they were in their combat information center and he grabbed him by the lapels and pushed him up against a wall. What do you know? And then there was another one where they had those 2 guys who were drug lords, and they were like, we're gonna press charges against you as terrorists because of the Patriot Act, because we were fascist back then too. And this is a softer one but more insidious way of interrogating someone like you said, they're disorienting her by moving her around. They invade her personal space, and then they outright lie about evidence.
Yep.
This is an ACAB podcast now, right?
As if it hasn't been.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're at the end of this episode. That's how this one ends, with them all sort of charmingly looking at one another and nodding as if they didn't just admit to outright corruption.
Yeah.
But now that you've talked about how much you hated this episode, I can't remember if what we've done is rank them in order of like the actual episodes in terms of like which one we think is the best so far, or just given them sort of a made up rating. So, but if you could choose any of those, where would you put this across all the things we've discussed so far? Or if you could just give it, and you don't have to make it a 1 out of 10, you could make it any random scoring system you'd like.
So we decided in not the last episode, the one prior to that, where we decided that we were going to just completely make up a ranking scale that would be different every episode. So
okay.
I'm going to give this one, it's going to take me a moment to kind of think this through.
Okay.
I'm going to give this, let's see, I'm going to give this 1.2 golf clubs out of 50.
Yeah. Let me think. So I was just looking at a root beer bottle, but right behind the root beer bottle, I have a Rubik's Cube. I'm going to give this a, those Christmas picture Rubik's Cubes that they sell out of catalogs for $5 that cost $0.25 to make. I'm going to give this episode one of those out of a nice Rubik's Cube.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
That's my rating for this one.
They're completely different ranking
Just totally
scales.
useless.
Yeah, but the totally useless. That's what the episode was. Totally useless. Yeah, it captures the essence of the episode.
It really, I feel like the only thing that could be carried forward from this in terms of knowledge is that Gibbs needs glasses.
Yep.
Tony has been at NCIS for 2 years. Kate isn't in the Navy.
Right.
And as we established in another previous episode, Abby and Gibbs still know American Sign Language.
When I've been editing these podcasts, I have opened with an out of context drop, right, from the episode itself. That's what you just said, that section there. Gibbs needs glasses. Tony's been, with NCIS for 2 years. That should be the out of context opener.
Okay,
yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I'll try and I'll make a note of that for sure. That is a funny one. I really like the out of context ones. So thank you for listening to this episode of Gibbs It To Me Straight. Thank you for being so patient with us after not having released an episode a full 2 months since the release of our most recent one. I put up on Blue Sky a little message, a skeet or whatever they're called. A hiatus. What's a hiatus? So we can just call it that. We're still figuring out everything. Thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode. If you would like to yell at us, then you can email us at gibbsittomestraight@gmail.com. If you would like to be yelled at in the form of a microblog, you can follow us on Blue Sky at Gitmiss Podcast. If you'd like to see some amount of things on Instagram from us, you can follow us on Instagram. All of that stuff will be in the show notes below. If there's anything else you want to see from us or get from us, or if there's any of our money you'd like to take, I'm sorry we don't have any, but I'd like to suggest that you try Big Money Root Beer. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you for listening. I'm Robby Thesword.
I am Ashley J. Williams. And just before we conclude, I believe that in terms of scheduling, you have prepared notes for the next episode after this, right?
No, I don't think so. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.